This next one is a very, very, very important video. I'm going to be linking it to you guys. This is a video from Chris Wilson. He used to work in Path of Exile. He has since left Grinding Gear Games. He kind of just like started making videos and whatnot. But this video I find particularly important. I've watched a little bit of it. I haven't watched the whole thing. But the title is Dark Patterns Are Your Games Playing You? And I definitely feel like this is a super important conversation because I've talked about this a million times, but I feel like he expresses it so precisely, so good. So let's go ahead and have a look at this.
A few years ago, a friend of mine carried a laptop 6 kilometers through the bush just to log into a game and keep a daily login streak alive. That's not.
How many of you have friends that do this? Show of hands. I know a lot of you guys have friends that do this. My friends don't do this anymore because we're old. At least most of my friends don't do this anymore. I mean, Ketnet would probably pull some stunt like this, I think. Ketnet would probably do that. I don't know if Ketnet's still in chat, but he would do this. Q would probably do this as well. But I know that a lot of you guys will have friends that do shit like this. 100%. Back in 2005, we did, like, I used to do it. I used to do it too, don't get me wrong. I used to do the same thing. Not anymore, though. I've grown up. Yeah, that's crazy.
Through the bush just to log into a game and keep a daily login streak alive. That's not fun. That's not entertainment. That's a dark pattern. Hi, I'm Chris Wilson. In this video, I want to show you how some modern games manipulate your schedule, your wallet, and even your friendships. You may have heard the term dark pattern before. It refers to a design that deliberately manipulates user behavior, usually to get those users to spend money or engage more than they intended. A classic example is a hotel site flashing scarcity cues like, only one room left, 4 people are booking right now. You also see services that are easy to sign up for but hard to cancel. Confirm shaming buttons that say, I'd rather pay full price. Optional extras like shipping insurance being automatically added to your shopping cart, or pop-ups that say, don't leave yet, you have unpurchased items. Dark patterns like these are increasingly common.
You want to know one of the real life examples that I have of dark patterns? It's fucking ISPs in Portugal, dude. They're always trying to shame you with shit like this, like, oh, just get like a 2-year loyalty. Ha 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 ha! You'll save so much money. Oh yeah! I remember when my 2 years went up on my old house. The 2 years on my internet connection went up. The amount of people calling me all the time saying like, hey, we noticed your contract, we'd like you to like renew with us, or the amount of people fighting over me, and I was just like, nah. And they were like, yeah, but you realize you're paying more right now, right? And I was like, yep. That's fine. I'm paying more, but I'm not stuck with anyone for 2 years. Get fucked, losers. I'm fucking done with that. It's bullshit. It's ridiculous. Diablo 4 thing that happened to you? Yeah, that was an even more disgusting dark pattern because that one was straight up a scamming dark pattern. That one was even worse. But yeah, it's pretty fucking bad.
Don't leave yet, you have unpurchased items. Dark patterns like these are increasingly common, to the point where regulators and consumer groups are starting to push back.
Good.
Today I want to talk about a less discussed form of dark patterns, and that's their use in the games that we play and make. Given how much money is made by the games industry, it's no surprise that some developers are applying psychological principles to the reward systems of their games to manipulate players into engaging more. In this video, I'm not talking about gameplay systems that are intentionally addictive or immersive. That's part of the entertainment you signed up for. I'm talking about the meta systems, monetization tricks, retention loops, psychological hooks, and UI traps that manipulate you outside of the actual gameplay. Another way to look at this is, if a developer focuses on making a game as compelling as it possibly can be, and it ends up really fun, interesting, and makes players want to play it again and again, then that developer won't need to rely on manipulative psychological tricks to artificially...
The old just make a good game, lol. One of the examples that I always like to bring, I know that a lot of people will bring up Expedition 33, but I feel like Expedition 33 is still suffers from a lot of recency bias because it was released this year, and therefore it's very easy to just bring up, oh, Expedition 33 is just a fantastic game, and it is, and people play it just because it's a fantastic game. True. I'm going to bring an even older example, Dark Souls. The original Dark Souls has no FOMO mechanics, no daily logins, no additional currencies, no real reason for you to play it beyond your first playthrough. I mean, you can go into New Game Plus if you want to, challenge yourself further, so on and so forth. But basically, not a whole lot of reasons to play past your first playthrough. But we did it anyway. We played it. I don't know. At least I have played it by now hundreds of times to completion. Why? Why did I do that? Because it's just a really fun fucking game. It's a game that doesn't introduce bloat to extend its playtime. It's a game that it is very lean in terms of like all the mechanics it has and all of that stuff. It's just a solid friggin' video game. And therefore, I replayed it plenty of times. Lots of people have replayed Dark Souls. Tons and tons of times. Maybe not hundreds of times, but at least tens of times. Most people have. Most people that watch me anyway. Why do we do it? Because it's just a good game. That's it. If it's a good game, people will play it. If it's worth replaying, people will replay it. You don't need to trick people. But a lot of these companies do. They basically force you to keep playing the game forever.
Again and again, then that developer won't need to rely on manipulative psychological tricks to artificially improve their metrics. Okay, enough preamble. Let's get into some dark patterns. So, like with non-game products, user interface dark patterns are common. For example, some mobile games ask you to rate them out of 5 stars. If you pick 5, you're sent straight to the App Store to leave a review. Anything less sends you to a developer feedback form instead. This quietly biases actual reviews towards higher ratings by making lower scoring reviews harder to leave.
Yeah, because you're just like, bro, I don't want to do this right now. Fine, you want 5 stars? Here's 5 stars. I don't want to fill out no goddamn forms. Yes, exactly. They know that. That's why they do it like that.
Another example of a user interface dark pattern is a game that allows you to spend real money to level up gems that can be socketed into your gear. But
do you realize how specific that is? I want you to listen to that one more time.
Is a game that allows you to spend real money to level up gems that can be socketed into your gear.
What game could he possibly be talking about? I have no idea. What game could he possibly be referring to? Do you guys not have phones? Everyone has a phone.
But players might find that once they have completely maxed out a gem at great expense, more sockets appear, requiring them to spend more money than they initially intended to completely...
Of course, because it's not enough to milk you out of your money for one gem. The gem itself needs to have additional sockets that you have to do it more and more and more.
Max out their character. This moving of the goalposts could potentially manipulate players into thinking they were going to complete their character for one price when it actually costs a lot more.
Of course.
They may not have committed to spending as much if they knew that from the start. Dark patterns in games extend far beyond just deceptive user interfaces, though.
Reminds me of the dungeon boost in Diablo Immortal where more slots would appear if you put in 3. Yup. That's how it goes.
Dark patterns in games extend far beyond just deceptive user interfaces, though. They're typically categorized as temporal, social, psychological, and monetary dark patterns. I've put some links to some of my references that have comprehensive lists in the video description, but I'll go through a few of the major ones with you right now. Before we get started, I should note that pretty much any mechanism that tries to manipulate a change in user behavior is considered a dark pattern in games, but the severity varies a lot. Some of them are much more mild than others, and with a lot of different opinions about which of them are harmless and which are going too far. I'll weigh in with my personal feelings about this later in the video.
Here's my personal feelings about that. They're all bad. Anything that tries to change your behavior is bad. Unless it's your behavior within the game. In terms of like, oh, we're trying to change it so that you're more offensive, or you're more defensive, or you learn more about this thing, or learn more about that thing. That is fine. But anything that is trying to change your habits, as in, we're going to try to get you to play this game more often than you actually intend to, all of that is bad. All of it.
I'll weigh in with my personal feelings about this later in the video. Many live service games.
What game were you referring to earlier, Rui, that does that with the gems? Diablo Immortal. We're talking. I mean, don't you guys have phones? The whole thing, Diablo Immortal. How is this even legal? It's a legal. It's a legal gray zone. So it's not. It's like it's frowned upon, kinda.
I'll weigh in with my personal feelings about this later in the video. Many live service games have daily login rewards. In behavioral psychology, when an action is followed by a reward, your brain learns to repeat it. Every day that you log in and receive this reward, you'll get a hit of dopamine, building a habit over time. Players who are conditioned to logging in every day do it not because they're excited to play, but because it feels like brushing their teeth, just something they have to do.
You want to know what is one of the best examples of this? It was World of Warcraft. And it's interesting because the point at which I really noticed this is actually still during what was one of my favorite expansions, which was during Wrath of the Lich King. Specifically, during the Trial of the Crusader dailies, where I would log in every day without fail to do my Trial of the Crusader dailies. Every single day. Like, this was without fail, bro. Like, those dailies needed to get done. No matter what else was happening, the Trial of the Crusader dailies, those were a part of my day.
Excited to play, but because it feels like brushing their teeth, just something they have to do. Some games have login streaks. This is where the rewards escalate for each sequential day you log in. When you break the streak, your rewards reset back down to the minimum level. Now, humans have a strong sense of loss aversion, where losses feel roughly twice as bad as gains feel good, and hence players will go significantly out of their way to avoid breaking these streaks. As I mentioned before, I have a friend who was on an off-the-grid camping trip and had to walk 6 kilometers with his laptop and a 3G modem so he could keep a login streak going in some random game he was playing. There are even games out there that let you pay real money to restore a broken streak. In addition to daily login bonuses, many games have daily tasks or challenges which reset every 24 hours. Players feel obliged to complete these so that the easy rewards don't go to waste. They don't want to miss out on cheap progress that everyone else is getting. Some games rely on dark patterns rooted in social obligation to manipulate you into behaving differently. For example, it's common for mobile base builder games to have guilds or clans where daily participation, like doing quests or donating resources, is important for your guild to succeed. If you don't log in each day and perform these actions, you let your friends down, which causes guilt and social pressure for you to be active daily. This dark pattern can exploit and strain our friendships, especially when the game is tuned to make daily participation essentially mandatory. Other games feature gifting between players, where reciprocation of gifts is rewarded with extra bonuses. This taps into reciprocity pressure to cause you to feel the need to log in daily and return gifts to people. Some games have refer a friend bonuses, or even outright pyramid schemes, where you make faster progress if you have recruited an extensive network of friends to join the game and play with you.
Yep.
Time-gated tasks, or playing by appointment, are when a game tells you have to come back at a specific time or face consequences. Popularized by farming games where your crops would wither and die if not harvested at the right time, the game forces control of your schedule, sometimes making you wake up in the middle of the night to click buttons or lose your investment. Contemporary mobile games often have timers and energy mechanics, where your ability to progress the game is blocked until you come back when these resources have regenerated. While this is less harsh than your crops being completely lost, you'll feel pressure to come back at exactly the right time to maximize your rate of progress. When you're not the one deciding when you play the game, but instead having the game decide for you, it's worth questioning your entire relationship with that game.
I distinctly remember this with the reset days in World of Warcraft as well. Oh, it's weekly reset. Time to get all of my currencies and all of the things. Let's go. And it's just always going to be that kind of a game when you get the end game, like straight up.
Some live service games create artificial scarcity for their store items. As entirely digital purchases, there's no physical requirement to limit the number of people who can purchase something, but doing so often causes it to sell much faster due to players fearing they're going to miss out. This pattern is similar to the one employed in gacha games, where they often have certain characters available for purchase only occasionally, causing a frenzy of activity when they are. Not only does this cause more sales, but it conditions players to check in with the game daily to see if the character they want is available for sale.
Wilds has weeklies and dailies, yeah, but what you get as rewards for those, usually you don't miss it if you aren't actively planning to play the game. So like for instance, during the festival, I logged in a couple of days, but I didn't log in every day. Like there was that one thing that you could get that would give you a bunch of pulls on the charm gacha, but it's like I don't care. You get a bunch of charms from just hunting 9-star monsters. Why do I care about getting additional pulls just for doing a random quest? So it's like I didn't feel the need to log in every single day to Dream Spell. And there was more than enough, like, if you just log in once or twice throughout the whole event, which lasts, like, what, 3 weeks? Or was it 3 weeks? Was it 2 weeks? I forget exactly, but I think it was more than 2 weeks. I don't know exactly how much it was. But, like, you needed to get the materials from, like, maybe 2 logins or like that across 14 days. Probably more. I think it lasted more than 2 weeks, but, I don't think that was such a big deal. I logged into the last event like 3 times and got everything. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I'm not the biggest fan of them being somewhat FOMO, but at the same time, they do get the community together. So I feel like with the wild stuff is not as bad, but I can understand why some people are against it.
There are a variety of dark patterns related to premium currency in games. Developers can design their premium currency packs to be slightly too small to buy the most desirable items,
of course,
requiring players to purchase more premium currency at once than they plan to. Developers can pick arbitrary exchange rates for their premium currency, so that players can't really understand it.
By the way, that last one, I feel like I just glossed over it, but that is one of the most important dark patterns that we have to talk about. It's the whole thing about like, you need $10 to buy 100 gems, but, obviously most of the skins that you would want to get are going to cost 110, and $10 is the cheapest one that you can get. So therefore, you're going to have to get the better deal of buying $18 or something like that, $18 worth of gems, because if you buy the 200 gems, it's going to be a little bit cheaper, but you get the $200, and then you end up, you buy the skin that you wanted, which is 110, and then you're left with 90, which effectively can get you nothing. So in reality, you didn't actually save anything because you're like, oh, but I saved because I bought the $20 pack, blah, 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 something like that. Not the $20, the $18 pack. So I saved like $2 because the other pack is $10. Now I have extra things. And it's like, no, what ended up happening factually is you now have 90 whatever's worth of currency that you have no way of using. In order for you to actually, spend those, you have to put more money into the store, which you likely will, because they've got you by the balls. Yeah.
Desirable items, requiring players to purchase more premium currency at once than they plan to. Developers can pick arbitrary exchange rates for their premium currency, so that players can't really understand the true cost of the item they're buying.
Players can understand. Players absolutely can understand. They choose to not understand. I'm always keenly aware of all of these currencies.
Cheap items can be placed next to expensive items in the store to make them look like better value. Some games employ special in-game or monetization events that are time-limited or seasonal. The content and rewards are only available for a limited time window. Players do not want to miss out on a unique reward that may never be available again, so this limited availability causes fear of missing out, which leads to intense and anxious play during the event window. There's also a phenomenon called the endowed progress effect, which shows that if players are given a head start on a reward track, then they are far more likely to finish the rest of that track so that they don't waste the progress they have so far, even though they didn't even make that progress themselves. It's a bit like the sunk cost fallacy. This is why some Battle Pass schemes start with the first items already completed, or have some really easy ones that are inadvertently completed while playing. This manipulates players into committing to complete a reward track that they may not have chosen to attempt without the free bump of progress at the start. So we've gone through a bunch of different dark patterns, and some of them seem pretty user hostile. You may be wondering, why would developers pollute their live service games with all this crap? Well, there are several answers to that question.
It's not the developers doing it, it's the marketing department. Hey, Dr. Dre, what's up?
And the first is that it works. These techniques are all highly effective. They produce the desired outcomes. They manipulate well-understood psychological principles that our human brains are vulnerable to. The second reason is that players generally tolerate many of these design patterns pretty well. Have a look at the games you play and see what techniques they're using from this video. Ask yourself if these are a big enough deal that you'll quit playing the game entirely over them. Chances are you're still playing the game despite the presence of these manipulative elements. Another important reason is mindshare. There are a lot of live service games out there, and players have a limited amount of free time. If a game doesn't have all of the addictive hooks and manipulative retention mechanisms we discussed, then its players may find themselves compulsively logging into other games to complete daily tasks and forget to play this one. There are also
The old, if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it argument. So it's like, well, if I don't do these FOMO bullshits, then somebody else is going to do the FOMO things, and they're going to get all of my players.
logging into other games to complete daily tasks and forget to play this one. There are also foreign publishers. When a game releases and is popular in its home regions, publishers from other countries approach the studio and offer to localize and market the game in their region. But in order to take the risk of investing in license fees and marketing costs, the publisher is going to want to make sure the game is as sticky and lucrative as possible. The publisher dares not suggest changes to the actual game itself, as the game is already proven to be good. So the only way they have to juice the retention and monetization is through meta systems, which very easily stray into dark pattern territory. Finally, the entire games as a service industry measures the value of a game as a function of its daily active user count and its retention rates. If you're making a live service game, you're only going to be able to get funding if you have a solid plan to retain your users. That plan probably ends up involving some number of these dark patterns, because you have to compete against other games using these techniques.
And not only that, and this is not exclusive to live service, but the culture itself, the community itself, overvalues these numbers. They grossly overvalue, like, this game is now has only this amount of people playing it. Oh man, it's really fallen off. Like, I go to these numbers every now and then just to kind of monitor, oh man, this thing is popping off. It's going pretty crazy. Like, I find that interesting. But like, way too many people glorify or criticize video games based on their active player counts. Like, let me tell you something. Back when I was playing Demon Souls, almost nobody was playing Demon Souls. Hell, the game wasn't even localized in Europe. I'm hipster Rurikhan over here. I'm hipster Patches, okay? I played it before it was even available in my region. I imported the bastard, okay? And almost nobody was playing it. And I'm like, it didn't even cross my mind like, oh, this is a problem. Not enough people are playing this game. I don't care. If anything, it's like, oh man, I found this hidden gem. Not enough people know how cool this game is. The same thing with Dark Souls. I'm pretty sure that on release, the number of people playing Dark Souls is nowhere close to the numbers that we see on a lot of video games nowadays. Nobody cared. Nobody used to care. This was never like a big talking point. It's like, I need to have 1 billion people playing my video game. Otherwise, it's a miserable flop. It's weird.
If you have a publisher or investor involved, they're probably going to want to see industry benchmarked retention and return from your game, and that is benchmarked against other games that are packed full of dark patterns. If you refuse to use dark patterns in your games, you're effectively competing with games that do use them, while operating at a disadvantage on the metrics that investors care about.
And the solution is we need to spread this video far and wide, okay? If you have a friend that plays a gacha game or a live service game, you need to share this video to them so that they can watch it and they can become more aware of what is going on. This is the solution. We need people to be able to identify these dark patterns so that they're not as susceptible to them. So like, for instance, if I was playing Where Winds Meet 20 years ago, I would have been super susceptible to all of the stuff that that game does in terms of like, I need to make sure that I'm spending my stamina every single day so that I'm grinding away and getting all of the best loot every single day. I need to make sure that I'm getting all of that sect currency to the limit every single week. I need to make sure that I'm hitting all of my currency caps every single week. This is mandatory. This is something that needs to happen. Nowadays, I look at it and I'm like, I'll play it. If it's fun, I'll do more things. If it's not fun, I don't care. Because, like, I'm old and jaded at this point. I've been through a lot of these dark patterns to the point where they don't really affect me anymore. But we need more people to become aware of them.
This situation really sucks. While by definition, a dark pattern is a design that benefits the developer at the player's expense, some of the techniques mentioned in this video aren't entirely evil, and if clearly communicated and balanced fairly, wouldn't qualify as actual dark patterns. For example, it's pretty clear that escalating login streaks are quite manipulative, because players really want to avoid breaking their streak. But flat daily login rewards might be more acceptable to players because the penalty for not logging in is just missing one day of rewards. If those rewards are sufficiently generous and the game is not manipulative elsewhere, players might be happy with that system. There are certainly players who really look forward to daily bonuses or special events in their favorite games and enjoy the structure and rewards that those bring, despite the drawbacks we've talked about. Some developers argue that a little psychological nudge can enhance enjoyment of the game, for example by encouraging players via rewards to explore parts of the game they wouldn't otherwise try out. Achievement systems are a common example of this. I previously talked about how time-limited events can be manipulative, because they often offer exclusive rewards that require a lot of work to unlock during a narrow time period, and can take advantage of your fear of missing out. This is a problem when the event involves grinding out existing content, but honestly, isn't that bad when the event consists of interesting new content? For example, back in January of 2017, Blizzard celebrated the 20-year anniversary of Diablo 1's release by introducing a special event into Diablo 3.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
The Darkening of Tristram was an homage to Diablo 1 within the Diablo 3 engine, complete with a pixelization shader and a strict orthographic isometric projection like Diablo 1. Players got to play through this mini version of Diablo 1 with their Diablo 3 characters, and it was honestly pretty cool. Even cynical old me reinstalled Diablo 3 and had a fun time checking it out. It looks like they're still running this anniversary dungeon event annually since then. This was a very well executed example of a time-limited in-game event that was a net win for everyone. I have nothing to complain about there. On the other hand, time-limited events that don't introduce new content can be more dangerous. A number of years ago, a fellow game director told me a story about a live service game he was running. He wanted to increase player activity in the gaps between expansions, so he decided to try running a double experience weekend. It was a huge success and saw way more players playing than usual. After the weekend, however, player numbers dipped down below where they were before the weekend, so they ran another double experience weekend the following weekend. You can predict where the story went.
Basically, players decided like, oh, I'll just wait until the next double EXP weekend, and I'm never going to play the game again unless there's double EXP, because now there's no value in it. You start to feel like you're wasting your time.
So they ran another double experience weekend the following weekend. You can predict where the story went. After a while, people only played on those special weekends because playing on weekdays felt far less worthwhile in comparison. The game eventually shut down. While games that overuse dark patterns alienate their users and eventually see the opposite of the good retention they were aiming for, the primary victims of dark patterns are the players themselves. Players affected by dark patterns find themselves...
It's important for people to understand, and I think that there's still a lot of people that likely because they're young, they actually don't understand this. But I feel like this is one of the most important lessons that a lot of people still need to learn. The most valuable currency in the world for everyone is time. Your time is literally the most valuable currency you have. Because guess what? If you lose money, or if you waste money on a video game, or you waste money on something that you actually didn't mean to do, you can always get that money back. You can always win it back. There are like lots of different ways to make money. I'm not saying it's easy, but there are ways of getting that money back. There's no way of getting your time back. Like, once that time passes, that's gone. Okay? That, like, the hours that you guys have spent on this live stream, they're gone. You're not going to get them back. Hopefully, you've enjoyed that time. Hopefully. If I'm doing a good job, you've enjoyed the time you've spent here. But ultimately, that time is gone. And this is why I value my audience so much. This is why I'm as transparent as I am, because I believe that, you guys just investing your time watching my content, that's some of the most valuable things that you can possibly ever give me, because you can never get that back. That time is gone. And therefore, it is important for people to understand that that is your most valuable currency. It is your time. Fuck, Rudy is stealing my time. Yep. Nah, second monitor. Man, that second monitor is wild. I'm just here because of FOMO. See, the thing is, with my live streams, there isn't even any FOMO, because the VOD is available in the channel afterwards. You can just watch this on YouTube after the stream.
compelled into behavior they wouldn't normally perform. Whether that's making purchases they hadn't planned for, logging in on days they hadn't intended to play on, grinding content they wouldn't normally choose to grind, referring friends who might not have an interest in the game, or having to set an alarm at 4 a.m. to tend some crops. These actions have both an impact on their day-to-day life, but also reduce their enjoyment of the actual game itself. They often lead to feelings of anxiety, fear of missing out, commitment pressure, guilt, and frustration. The scary thing is, I'm an adult in my 40s who has spent his career working in live service games. I deeply know all about these tricks and still find them affecting me far more than I'm comfortable with. Imagine what it's doing to kids who are incredibly vulnerable to the constant bombardment of gambling, compulsion, addiction, loss aversion, and anxiety-inducing dark patterns that these games contain. So far in this video, I've tried to offer a relatively neutral take on the pros and cons of these game design patterns. While they're called dark patterns and have a high potential for abuse, I've explained that some of them are moderately harmless if used in a way that provides a lot of value for players. But if you're watching my channel, you probably want my actual opinion on all of this. I put a lot of thought into this area because I used to run a live service game, and I frequently had to make decisions related to what design patterns were used for meta systems, retention mechanics, and monetization. So here's my current take on this topic. First of all, I think that pretty much everything is fair game in terms of the actual design of the game itself. If a game is targeted at adults rather than children, I don't have a problem with people leaning on behavioral psychology research when designing the actual gameplay of the game and its reward systems within the game. Make your games fun. Make them
I have a problem when the behavioral psychology is meant to basically just extract as much time and attention out of you. Like, I think if you want to use behavior psychology, which I think is what the point that Chris Wilson is making, if you want to use behavior psychology to figure out, oh, will people think this is fun? That's cool. That's fine. That's not an issue. But if you're using behavioral psychology to figure out, ooh, what can I do to keep people coming back? That's where the problem is.
Compelling. Make people want to play them and want to return to them for their own merits. Your job as a game designer is to make a really fun game, and understanding how the human brain works is important for that. Players becoming invested in your game and deeply caring about their progression is a good thing. It's why people play games. But I draw the line at deploying dark patterns because they are related to retention systems, meta progression, and monetization. When I'm playing a game, I don't want to have a fear of missing out that makes me feel like I have to play frantically during time-limited events. I don't want to have to log into the game every single day to avoid breaking some stupid streak. I don't want to have to do some minimum amount of activity every day, otherwise I miss out on bonuses. I don't want to have to spam my friends to remind them to log in, otherwise I miss out on rewards. I hate all of this bullshit. When I was growing up, games were designed to be fun, not manipulative. They didn't have literal behavioral scientists and psychologists on staff trying to rewire my brain. Look, I love the economic and competitive aspects of live service online games, but I just don't find myself enjoying most modern ones. Whenever I see daily tasks, seasonal events, and all the exclusivity FOMO, I just lose all hope that I'll actually enjoy playing the game, because I know that it'll be playing me. If you're a developer and really want to add retention mechanisms without straying too deeply into dark patterns, what can you do?
Make a fun video game. Crazy concept. Crazy concept, bro.
Really want to add retention mechanisms without straying too deeply into dark patterns, what can you do? Well, first of all, you should try to make your game as fun as possible on its own merits, before relying on external meta mechanics to try to add engagement. Once you've done this, it's a matter of transparency, fairness, and respect for your players. Transparently communicate how things work and what players have to do in plain language. Avoid hidden gotchas that players are unaware of. For example, if you're using loot boxes, clearly communicate their drop rates. Try to ensure that optional challenges reward effort rather than attendance. Make sure that time-limited events last long enough for real-life schedules. Carefully consider whether rewards should be exclusive or whether you should have the event returned with the same rewards later, giving players a chance to get them if they miss out this time. It's worth thinking about the concept of time-agnostic gaming. Try not to care about when a player plays your game. Some people can't game every day, but have lots of time available on the weekends. It's unfair if the progress they make is slower than someone who manages to log in every day to claim some type of login reward. So that's been a tour through the dangerous world of dark patterns. As game developers, we have an obligation to think very carefully before we employ strategies like these. Push back and make sure that the reason you're adding something is because it's actually adding more fun, rather than because it'll artificially create more retention or juice some other metric. As gamers, we also have an obligation to push back. If you want more game in your games and less bullshit, make sure that you communicate this to developers. Your money and attention are precious. Spend them wisely. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Absolutely goated video. You guys need to share this video far and wide because, like I said, the only way to actually fight back against some of the practices that are being employed right now in a lot of video games is for people to be informed, because it doesn't matter the amount of boycotts. People just need to understand. People really need to understand, which is the main reason why I wanted to, watch this video with you guys. People need to understand this is one of the most important battles that we're going to be fighting. We've been fighting, by the way, because this has been going on for decades now. It's a battle that we need to continue to fight, and it's a battle that the only way to actually win is for people to recognize the things that are getting them addicted. And this is very eloquently put by Chris in this video. So yeah, make sure to give this some watch time as well. Give it a like, do the usual shenanigans, because like I said, this is a super important video for us.